Hello, everybody. Welcome to GNGF Live, your bi-weekly update on all things digital marketing. And today we are different than usual. You can see we are not in the GNGF studios. We are in the Mark Homer home studio. So we had to do some quick changes, like a lot of you, I'm sure, out there. And today we have Chris Cassidy joining us here, and instead of well-produced and interview kind of production, we decided to jump on really quick. We spent some time yesterday pulling together some data and some examples from basically clients who are actually, reached out to us, and we did some strategy talks really fast and said, okay, what can we do for the next week really fast to kind of see if we can keep the momentum going on either some campaigns that we're currently running or change direction a little bit and pivot on some things related to COVID. And so we have some good case studies of what's working, but also we wanted to step back and talk a little bit about things that you can do to basically, things you should always be doing, but right now you should be focusing on these things first. So we'll talk about kind of some of the basics you should be working on, and then we'll go into some kind of like more advanced. Hey, if you're already doing some of these things, here's some things you can do to take it up a level over the next few weeks during this crisis we have going on here. We're all working very different. Chris is at his home office as well. But before we jump in, I always kind of like to talk about where we're going to be. So let me share a screen since we don't have little nice video graphics and stuff to kind of bounce around to this time. Let's see, sharing the screen, and we'll share. So we are, I'm just going to go straight from here and hit the play button somewhere in here. Oh, well, oh, there it is. Okay, so where we're going to be next, we are this week and next week, there's daily panels on the law firm growth during COVID-19 summit. So Law Firm Growth Summit was last December. I had a virtual summit. There was like thousands of lawyers actually that joined that. It was pretty awesome. Some expert speakers and then Q&A panels every night. So because of all the stuff going on, Moshe Amsel from the Profit with Law podcast, and Joe, you can throw this in the Facebook chat too, these links, I think you have them. But Moshe Amsel with the Profit with Law podcast pulled a bunch of us together and said, hey, can you just come on like daily panels and talk about different topics? So he's got people talking about like finance, SBA emergency loans. That's all everybody's asking about that, credit lines and those kind of things. What you'd be worrying about. What can you do? We've had some good panel discussions on people who are, Amex is letting you postpone payment with no penalty, all these kind of things. So he's talking about finance. We're talking about marketing you can do, managing your, the company culture and employees in a remote setting. Like, how do you do that? Some of the technology tools to go in there. So, every day, like once or twice a day is having like these hour-long panel discussions. So I have actually one at 1 o'clock today, Eastern time. On marketing. So some of the stuff we'll talk about here, we'll go probably into more in depth because it's a panel discussion with 4 or 5 other marketers. And so we can kind of talk about what they're seeing working as well. So I check that out. It's free to join on the calls. And then I think he has some other offers in there too that people are doing. So it's awesome. And then the Bedlam conference, which we were going to be in Las Vegas, Chris, we were going to be there next week. And that has moved virtual as well. So the Bedlam conference, the Best Damn Legal Marketing Conference, is put on by 5 marketing agencies, GNGF being one of them. And we are moving it to virtual. So you go to bedlamconference.com to register. The only benefit, so you don't get to go to Vegas, but it is significantly cheaper. So we dropped the price because it is just, virtual and we don't have to have a lot of extra costs involved. So we've dropped the price down. Since we dropped the price, a lot more people have signed up too. So it should be really good. We're also going to be doing like breakout sessions using, I think Zoom technology is what I think we're using, but we're able to do breakout sessions where you can actually get your detailed answers on a lot of things, specific to your marketing or analytics, and just pull stuff up and we'll dive into things right there. This Friday, the Nevada Bar has if you're in Nevada, they have something called Keep Calm and Lawyer On. Virtual conference to kind of go over, like the remote working and stuff specific. And I think they have some people talking about some specific things to Nevada. So I'll be there talking about, some of the marketing things we're seeing people do. And then maybe in person, maybe virtual, still to be decided, May 7th and 8th. Right now, I think they're still hosting it, but they are doing a virtual option as well. But the Small Firm Bootcamp, lawfirmautopilot.com. And again, Joe can put these links in the description. So Chris, let me stop the share here and welcome. So thanks for joining us here.
Of course, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm at home, so I'm comfy. And fun fact, this is not actually my home behind me. So it's just a picture.
Using
Uh,
that fun Zoom technology. It's been interesting, the backgrounds I've seen. I've seen some cool memes of people's backgrounds and stuff.
yes, yeah. So
Yeah,
fun.
I know we've had some fun with it internally.
We have, yeah, yeah. Change it up a little bit. So yeah, but yeah, happy to be here and
Um,
talking with you, Mark.
yeah, so I'm excited because I mean, I know you and your team have been extremely busy. I mean, putting in like just crazy overtime kind of hours right now to help clients with all the things that they can do really fast during this crisis to make sure that people know they're open, how to get a hold of them, setting some people up for remote. I know you've helped people set up like Zoom and Calendly links and things that make it credit card processing, right? People think things people we've been telling people to do for a while, but everybody's racing to do it in 2 or 3 days. So first of all, thank you for your team to just, I mean, there was some awesome feedback from some clients. So I love seeing that. But I wanted to dive into some of the specific things that you're telling, from a strategy perspective, clients that they need to be working on. Like what are the basics that you should make sure you're doing? Because it's not all just, hey, digital marketing, but there are things that they can be doing and stuff as well. And then I want to talk about some of these case studies. We really dive into, like we had one client who said that, their business is still coming in because of some of the changes they made really fast. Somebody else,
Hmm.
like told me like, hey, they've actually had maybe not their best week ever, but like best week this year so far amongst this crisis because some of the things that we put in place. So I want to really dive into that. But before we dive into some of those case studies, if you could kind of walk me through some of the things we talked about in terms of like top of mind awareness, I think is really, we said like, for right now during a crisis moment, you want to use this time to make sure you're having top of mind awareness and continuing to keep that, because that actually will help you after this too, right? Help with the branding and stuff. So tell me about some of the things we're talking to clients about.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's to be expected that I did receive a lot of emails very quickly once some of these shelter in place things started coming out across state by state. And, all of our clients for the most part are still working, right? And so, and they need to know what they need to do. And I got a lot of emails that were just kind of like help. So, springing into action, one of the initial things you need to be able to do is communicate with your clients or prospective clients. Hey, we are open and here's how you interact with us, right? Like, yeah, our office is not physically open, but we're available via phone or Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. So we need to be able to do that
Mm-hmm.
and tell them that we are available. And ultimately, like what the slides say here, like provide support and be helpful to your audience or prospective audience, and don't try to scare them. People are already scared, so help them out. um, and then other things that we've been having conversations about are like the other side of the coin, right? Like how do I actually function and operate virtually? So there's been plenty of conversations I've had helping clients implement things that help their office move internally, right? Like using
Mm-hmm.
Slack or using other inter-office communication tools as well, and just really kind of gluing it all together and working remote, which we're used to at GNGF, as you know,
Right.
being very remote. So it was easy answers for me to kind of pull off and help people with, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be able to help. So I wanted to kind of go through some of these. So you talked about providing, like support and education for the community that the each lawyer is in, right? So if you're in the
Mm-hmm.
community, one of the things I have seen a couple, and I hate seeing these because it kind of makes me die inside a little bit. But it's when people who like come out and say, like COVID's going to ruin your life, and here we're here to help, right? And it's like kind of like leading with fear. Where I always recommend during this time, I know you've been talking about too, is providing really like supportable and actionable content that can take somebody a step forward, right? In a time of uncertainty, people really really need lawyers, right? We look to lawyers all the time and kind of say, hey, how do I do this, right? So somebody's trying to figure out, do I need to let go of my whole staff, like how do I do that correctly so that they're taken care of correctly? How do I deal with it? So if an employment lawyer, right, they need to know, like how do I take care of it that's not going to come back and like hurt me later on, that people are going to be taken care of from an employment perspective. All the different questions that come around, like firing somebody, which is really not firing right now; it's laying people off, right? It's very different. So like, employment lawyers, I mean, I know they're getting all kinds of questions, but, can you provide like, content and supportive information or checklists, right? So if you're an estate planning attorney, like what are these things you need to make sure, you're doing at a minimum in this kind of crisis? I mean, there's a lot of people in nursing homes where people are really scared for them. And, like, so the family members maybe, reaching out and kind of saying, well, what do we need to make sure is buttoned up for my mom, in the nursing home. So those are kind of things, what kind of things can you provide educationally and value? That's what I've been recommending. Chris, I know you've been saying the same thing, and you've been doing, we'll have some examples of some things people have been doing. The other thing that, Chris, we've been talking about, right, is those who have been working on and listening to a lot of things we've been saying over the last, 10 years, but, building an email list, having a way for people to download something and then provide an email over the many years, before this, then you have an email list, you can reach out to them. Or if you've been good at, getting clients' emails and past clients and referral partners. So some of the things, Chris, that you're telling clients to do in those emails is, I put some of the notes I took from you yesterday, but you want to walk through some of those?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, having an email list and having several email lists segmented based upon who these people are is going to be crucial. I just had a conversation about an hour ago with a different client. Being able to communicate this type of messaging, right? Like, here's all our clients, here's all our past clients, here's all the people that have interacted with our firm in some capacity. We need to be able to communicate, hey, in this crazy time, we are here to answer literally any legal question that you might have, even if we only do estate planning. Like, you know us, you trust us because you've worked with us, reach out to us and we can help provide some guidance to you, even if it's saying, hey, we don't know the answer, we're not the best to answer that, but this person is. So like referring them to someone else. And you're ultimately conveying that you are still open, you are still practicing, you are still there to help them if they need it. And a lot of people are thinking about, like in specifics, like to estate planning, they're thinking about that right now a lot more than they probably were a month or two ago. Like, this has kind of forced their hand a little bit. So like, be there for them and, lead with education, provide value, and just ultimately extend a helping hand, is what we've been telling people. And there's been a lot of good response. I've sent and helped send out several different email campaigns this week and even last week. And there's direct correlation with like new intakes and new kind of top of mind awareness, like what you're saying, Mark.
Yeah, and then the other thing, I think you told me somebody did, and so I put it in here, was reminding, right? Reminding them, you're telling clients, don't forget to say, hey, I can be here to help you with anything. But, so just come to me with any question you have, like, because maybe you're the only lawyer that took the time to email them, right? Come, they have all kinds of questions. Come to me with any legal question you have, and I can help. If I can't do it, I can help find somebody who will. So that helps support your referral partners, maybe help some other lawyers that aren't as tech savvy or doing some of these things to get, their cases, maintained during this craziness. Asking them to forward to somebody, like always asking for that referral, like building that wider base, building that wider brand awareness. Say, hey, forward this information on to somebody else you might know who needs this. There's a lot of people right now. I just received some information about like the SBA emergency loans, right? So the Small Business Administration emergency loans. As you know, Chris, I'm involved in like the entrepreneur organization, and being president of the chapter here, I get all this extra information, that they're trying to disseminate to entrepreneurs. So I got something about the SBA emergency loans, and I knew 2 entrepreneurs who had reached out to me and said, hey, do you know anything going on? So I just forwarded the email, right? So this person who was smart enough to like, have me on their list, send me some information about something that they can help, it got forwarded right on, right? So their brand, increased. So, people right now know other people who are struggling. So if you can, say, hey, just forward this on to somebody, build that brand awareness. And then, like you always said, like you have your referral partners. We always talk about referral partners, for estate planning term. Maybe there's some financial advisors and stuff you've been working with. If you take the time to produce this really, really good content, this rich content about, or these how-tos or these actionable steps, then tell them to, hey, feel free to take this wholesale and share it with your clients, like copy and paste, or, send them back to my website. Here's the URL, and, provide this to your clients. I'm here to help out, tell the referral partner, I'm here to help you out with your clients as well. So you can actually help them reach out to their clients and provide some value as well, which maybe right now, financial advisor is worried about their clients, like, leaving and taking everything out of the market. But in reality, you can say, hey, the financial advisor could say, here's some things you need to be worried about from an estate planning perspective, kind of like switch the conversation a little bit and still provide value. It's a great thing for a referral partner. Employment lawyers, you probably have a lot of like referral partners that help you reach out to businesses. There's a great amount of information right now that people are dying to know around, like layoffs and all, how it affects, Chris will talk about L&I stuff later, but also just, unemployment and a lot of people aren't realizing that if you lay somebody off, then maybe that'll affect the emergency loans you can even acquire in terms of like the amount. So all these kind of questions that employment lawyers have all this knowledge, provide that information to all your referral partners that you've been using to reach out to business owners for years. And so they can share that information. And then Chris, you've been talking about social media a lot lately, which I know a lot of times we'll talk about, not doing social media the wrong way, but right now is the best time to be doing social media. So talk about some of the things you're seeing people do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people, their schedules have completely changed for the most part, and they're spending more time on social media. I don't have numbers in front of me, but I'm sure there's been studies done already. So the idea is like be visible on social media and like what we've said earlier, provide value and answer questions and be an asset to these people, right? And even be involved in the legal community like that you might be in on Facebook. Like there's several different lawyer Facebook groups, and it's the idea of community and rallying around together to help, fight this problem. So that's one piece. And then just, we'll get into some case studies here in a minute to show you like the real impact of social media and what it can do in a time like this, and really show you like what you were saying, Mark, people are craving this information and they're getting it on Facebook. They're getting it on Google. They're getting it a variety of different ways, but social is a big piece of it right now for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, and we talked about this. Facebook is one of the key areas people are going right now. Like their numbers are crazy, but don't ignore LinkedIn. A lot of business, so a lot of you would think consumers, like business to consumer, like a lot of our law firm clients do business to consumer. And so Facebook does make sense, Facebook first, right? But don't forget that a lot of consumers also work at businesses, and therefore during the day, maybe they're spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. And we're seeing LinkedIn groups form. We're seeing a lot more content being shared on LinkedIn. We're seeing kind of like personal stuff bleed into LinkedIn a lot more than it ever has. So, like don't ignore LinkedIn, but I definitely agree, Facebook first. So let's talk about, and I, share the screen in a second, but talk about some of the things that you're saying, okay, that's the basics, right? And people should be doing that. And maybe they've been doing it all along. What are some of the things you're seeing to kind of level up or that you've been doing with some clients?
Sure. So just building upon the basics, like, hey, we have, everything is working, right? We can work remotely. People can contact us. They know how to get a hold of us. Here's our policy. The leveling up type of things are like removing friction and then increasing visibility. So to give you an example, someone comes to your website, can they easily schedule a time to talk with you? And does it automatically populate in something like this, right? Like a Zoom video conference. That doesn't happen on accident. You actually have to build that in and do it. It's easy to do, relatively speaking, but you need to actually do that and be intentional with it. So that makes it easy on you internally as the lawyer and your team, but it also makes it easier for your prospective client or current client on how to interact with you. So like building the foundation, building the structure, and then thinking about how do we get more eyes on that, right? And building that so it's almost like a well-oiled machine. Like we're still operating right now when a lot of people aren't, and it's really easy to work with us, and you can do it from the comfort of your home. There's no reason not to work with you. Like it's easy. So do you want to share that screen?
Yeah, I can share. We can talk to that screen.
Yeah. Just we had some thoughts, and then I'm excited to share the case study stuff too.
Yep, definitely want to get to the case studies because that's people can really spark their ideas and stuff here too. Also, just a quick shout out to Moshe, my friend who's hosting that panel at 1:00. So, excuse me, Moshe joked about the Bedlam, saying if we're doing a virtual Bedlam conference, instead of doing it in Vegas, we're going to do like virtual gambling and virtual shows. So I guess we'll have to talk about that one on our planning session. That's interesting. So funny guy, Moshe. So here's some of the stuff we talked about for top of mind awareness. We've talked about, talked about videos and Zoom and stuff. So if you have Zoom, right? So you have Zoom now, and you've got this stuff figured out. Maybe host, like, so we're actually on Zoom. Chris and I are on Zoom right now, but then you can hit a button, and with a couple extra clicks, you can send that as a Facebook Live. So you could do a quick Zoom with maybe another lawyer or somebody else, helpful for your community. Maybe one of your referral partners, right? Do a Zoom and a Facebook Live with if you're a estate planning attorney, maybe with a financial advisor, right? Or whoever it is you're using for referral partners. You can help them provide great content and bring them on and talk about stuff. So you can have, don't have to just stare at a camera and talk. You can actually have a guest in like this, like Chris and I are doing. So do those and get those on Facebook. You can top of mind awareness, and then for this content, Chris, you've been like building specific landing pages. I know your team's been doing that all for the last 4, 5, 6 days straight. But talk about some of the landing pages and why that's important.
Yeah, so I mean, you have to have somewhere to send people, right? And it's different than just your practice area page on, XYZ law. Like, this is right now, this is timely, this is your, response to the situation that's going on right now. So with that could be, hey, here's how we operate, here's how you can contact us, but also like, here's how we can help you right now. Some examples like that we talked about, or that I've seen are, here's, your rights, your employee rights during this time. And it's like a very detailed guide. Or here's an offer to you. It's, flat fee, fixed, 30-minute meeting, or here's everything you need to know about how to potentially file a workers' comp claim related to this, or an L&I claim. So it's related to what you do, of course, but it has the more time sensitive piece to it, right? So, and then the next piece of that is, how do we get more eyes on that? How do we drive more traffic to that? Because you can have a beautiful guide or a page, but if no one's going to it, then you're not really maximizing it. So how we've been doing that is, like we said before, leveraging the email lists that you have, and then also doing some strategic paid ad placement on Facebook, promoting this type of content and these types of landing pages. And it's, to your point, Mark, it's not like, hey, everyone freak out, we're going to help, carry you out of the fire. It's, hey, we are here to help. Here's what we can bring to the table. Here's the value we can provide. And here's how you work with us. And you can do it while you're sitting at your house. So remove the fear as much as you can and build in that you are there to assist people move forward in whatever way they need to.
Awesome. So I want to make sure we get to the case studies here, but let me see if, because I can't see the chat when I'm doing it this way. So let's see if we have any more chat. We don't. One other thing is also thinking about the services. I know we had a couple clients that kind of came up with some, when we talked back and forth, we, kind of strategized some different service ideas. So some people I've heard, you mentioned like, taking their estate planning, creating like, a flat fee, kind of COVID-19 mentality, like here's the minimum things you need, let's get this done. We'll talk about Cheryl's thing in a second. Then I've talked to some people who did kind of like 30-minute flat fee for a remote Zoom call on legal issue around a certain topic area. So one was in family law right now, maybe there's probably not a lot of divorces, and that's really slowed down and stalled and stuff because people don't want to talk about that when they're, everybody's, sheltered in place in the same home together. But there's a lot of custody and parental rights issues and stuff. And so people are just kind of confused and don't know what to do. So they created like a 30-minute flat fee. Just call me with whatever questions you have. They may or may not be the person's attorney, but they can just, they put it out there that I get that this is a problem. Let me help you through this. And then, maybe that turns into something later, but that's, good branding and awareness there. So, and get a little bit of money while you're, be able to be remote and Zoom. So let's talk about one of the ones. So you want to walk through, because I think the kind of end-to-end biggest shift of somebody that did it all in like 3 days, including adding technology into the play, was Cheryl David. And so actually, I know she's talked about this out openly, so I have, we can use her name and stuff here. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit, and I'll start to share here.
Okay. Yeah, so Cheryl's a great client, and she's in North Carolina, and she does, estate planning, elder law, Medicaid, you name it. And this was something we had been working on and planning to be able to address this head on, because she saw it coming. So the whole idea of like plan, protect, and settle your estate from the comfort of your home. So we drafted up some language. but ultimately, like what this landing page is the, top of funnel, top touch point where someone can schedule that complimentary meeting. So there's a link there on that page that if you click it, it pops up in Calendly. You can select, 30-minute window, and then further down on the page, there's like a embedded calendar as well. So same thing, just in a different way. So people can ultimately schedule a time to talk with Cheryl or one of the other attorneys there about this, moving their, needs forward from the comfort of their home. And then that picture there to the right is something that they just sprung into action and created this sign really quickly, because in a lot of cases they still needed to have like a wet signature on a document. So
North Carolina was still like, there's a bunch of states that are still like that, right? That require the wet signature. I know they're trying to get that changed really quickly, but she came up with something to still deal with it, right?
Yeah. So this was something that we communicated through email and also communicated like on this landing page, was that after you have that meeting with Cheryl or a different attorney there, if this needs to happen, here's the process. And Cheryl sent me pictures of, her wearing gloves and a mask, and even like the full, like, looks like an emergency room outfit. And people, like, literally what the sign says: you stay in your car, roll the window down, you sign, and then you don't hand anything back, like you keep the pen, the clipboard, everything. It's like the best you can do given the circumstances, right? Like, and ideally you would be able to do this all online, digitally, and you wouldn't have to mess with it. But given everything, she's seen some really good success.
And then you guys ran Facebook ads, sent emails out,
Yep.
and did a couple other things around that. I know she reached out to referral partners, like some media and stuff. So this has been great, but like it shows you kind of where, Facebook ads. She always ran Facebook ads, but like this was a very targeted campaign, right? She'd been running for many months.
Yeah.
This is, I think you told me this is just referral, right? So this is like, looking emails and that kind of stuff. So March 16th is kind of when this, I guess, kicked off, right? So like, if you can see, not only did it jump, but just the amount of Facebook traffic in general. And then, so they did big promotion, big push, and then it's come down a little bit, but it's still higher than it really ever was. So the big push to kind of get stuff moving, led to a lot of business and stuff as well. We know, and she's reached out to us saying, my goodness, like like I'm still getting business, and I was really worried about having nothing this week. And now, she's actually getting business, but also the Facebook is sending more clients to her website. So from a brand awareness, top of mind awareness, getting on her email list and getting more information. Every day now, more people are visiting her site. So this has been actually a great campaign for her.
Yep, definitely.
And then another one, this is the client we have up in the, I guess in Seattle, Tacoma region. So that kind of area of the country. They do like a lot of workers' comp. So I think you were talking about L&I earlier, right, Chris? So they do that, but they also run a bunch of radio ads throughout the year. They rallied around, kind of created a bunch of great content around L&I, created a radio ad specific to some of the issues people are facing right now. And then just mention their website, right? Not like, any kind of special promotion or anything on the radio ad. It's just, it was a good radio ad. And a lot of his radio ads are like kind of more expert interview type ads, right? And it was a good ad, but then just by running that ad and then some of the other stuff they were doing, but like the spike in traffic over those 3 or 4 days by supporting it with something on his website, right? So it's one thing to have the spike in traffic to your website, but, and I don't have a screenshot of this, but you can talk through some of the things that we work with them to support some of the external advertising they were doing. So talk through that.
Yeah, sure. So what he had did was create basically a guide for how coronavirus has impacted or can impact like an L&I claim, which is like workers' comp. So, and then it was one of the radio ads, or the call to action was, hey, go to our website and view the guide. So to pair that together, we adjusted the website. There's a banner at the top, and then there was actually a pop-up that was delayed by a couple seconds that would pop up, and it caught your attention very clearly. It was like a graphic of, the illustration of a coronavirus, right? Like what that looks like. So it obviously connects very quickly if you just heard that radio ad. And then people would click on that and read the guide, and then again, realize what what value that this firm can provide, and top of mind awareness was huge. So, and a huge traffic spike, and then building upon that as we move forward. So that was another good example. And then I do want to touch on, before we run out of time, the employment law one that we have next.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm okay running. I know we always do 30 minutes. I'm okay running just a few minutes over, Chris, if you have it. My next thing's at 1:00, but this is real life case studies, the things people are doing right now. So I think people can, make sure they're getting these ideas and some of the things that they should be doing maybe different than they're thinking right now to not only survive, but maybe even thrive a little bit right after this kind of crisis.
Sure. So this one that's on the screen here, it's actually a good comparison. And I didn't really have this idea until yesterday when Mark and I were talking. And I was like, well, we actually have two similar firms actually in the same state that both do employment law, but the strategies were night and day. And the analytics here show that. So the top one, and also key, if you look at the left-hand side, the number of users, it's significantly different. So the graphs almost can be skewed, but the number of users in the top chart is insane. It goes 500, 1,000, 1,500, when the bottom one is 50, 100, 150. So just keep that in mind. With the first one, the first top chart there, this client he wrote one detailed blog post almost that was just everything you need to know about coronavirus employment law issues, right? Here you go. This is what you need to be aware of as an employee.
And he's somebody that, to be fair, I mean, he's somebody who has been working with us a long time and has really adapted and figured out like the right style for writing for the web, writing for consumers accessing this information, the business owner, consumers that he kind of goes after, right? So this was it was a good piece.
For sure, yeah, definitely. So to plus that up, right? So he wrote a good piece organically, that would be fine. It would just take a long time to catch traction, right? So what he did with our help, published it, and then we provided some guidance on how to get more eyes on it. And he tried to do some Google ads, which didn't work because Google's not running ads really related to coronavirus right now. But then my first recommendation was you need to do some strategic Facebook ads on this. And what you see here, this increase, he, in this time window, probably spent about $100. The total budget was 150, but it's not, the campaign was still running, but the increase in traffic was going from, I don't know, 50 people a day to 900 to 1,000 in some cases. Like the one day, like March 18th, what I think was like 1,200, all to this page. And all because he wrote content, it was good content, promoted it, put a little bit of money behind it to a good audience. There you go. And then also,
yeah, I mean, you said like $100-something, not even.
Yeah. I think at the time I took the screenshot, he spent like, $100 at the time, or $90-something. So there's more runway to go. And then
the dip on the 24th was, you took the screenshot yesterday in the morning. So it's probably about the same.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, his new baseline in this period is much higher. And, you might say, well, are people just looking for information? Are they going to hire me? A lot of people that come to the site, yes, like not 1,000 people are going to call and hire you, but they need this information, and you're getting top of mind awareness. And I think you're paying 40 to 50 cents per landing page view. That's crazy. Like I would do that all day long. So, and the other cherry on top is if they do this on Facebook, you can also build those audiences and remarket to them later, which is key. So if you don't have it set up right, you'll lose a lot of that runway and potential. But if you do it right on the front end, you can maximize that during this period, but also 6 months to a year from now, right? Like you can build upon that. And then to wrap this up, the chart that's below shows another employment lawyer, same state, similar market, wrote content very similar, but had no promotion behind it at all, zero. So organic post, it went out, it's being, indexed by Google, which is great, but there's no promotion to get more people to look at this right now. And we're seeing, 50 to 100-ish people, even a little bit less per day when we're comparing.
And he also, I mean, it was good content, right? So like again, another long-term client. good content. He even did some videos, put some videos in there and stuff. It's just like, hey, we really recommend you put a little dollars behind it. He's like, I don't, want to be out on Facebook, whatever. So fine, like we
Mm-hmm.
can't spend the money for our clients all the time, but like it was definitely recommended. But this is, I think, when you go back to him now and say, okay, next time, let's don't miss the boat on this, right? This is, I mean, like you said, this wasn't even like two parts of the country. This was the same state, just different parts of the state,
Yep.
So that was fascinating. And then finally, one here, this one's interesting to me. There's a client that was already running some Facebook ads, right? And Facebook and Google, I mean, they're doing many ads. And it was, I think this was client tends to do their accident and injury stuff. So I think the ads were all around a certain kind of class action related thing around, I remember the 3M earplugs,
Yeah.
is that right? Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, 3M earplug issue. So no significant change. So this is a different example, right? But so no significant change on those type of things. The ad still worked. We knew what the return was, we knew what the dollars were on it. But I think what's interesting is if you look at the impressions, somewhere around March 1st through March 8th, things just start going straight up. And again, ignore that drop off at the end. That's around when the start was taken. So,
Mm-hmm.
like it was, but you can just see this like steady increase. Really what that is showing is you're getting more impression, and like the dollars didn't change, right? You're getting more impressions for the dollar per impression. And I think it's a result of more and more people are just rallying to Facebook to kind of like just figure out what's going on or connect with friends or just see what other people are doing. And so more people have time, and they're spending it online, and I think they're spending it a lot on Facebook. I mentioned LinkedIn's another area I've seen a lot more interaction on. So this client reached out to us and said, like, I was really expecting a tough week, and we actually had an average, if not better week than we usually have. And he goes, I think just more people are spending time online, and this chart kind of like matches exactly to that. So if ever there's a time to spend a little bit of time and effort, getting with somebody who knows how to like get some Facebook ads set up for you. And if you, by the way, if anybody needs some help on this, like we're happy to help. We typically, GNGF, we typically work in more of a strategic, capacity where we, think over the course of like, year and long-term clients and say, all right, what is your goals and how do we help you get there? And let's break it apart and, do step one, then we'll do step two, kind of walk, run, or walk, and then run before you run kind of thing. And then, but right now we are telling people we're just here to help. Like we do not want to see law firms, struggling and going under because of this crisis. So if there's things that we know and know how to do, like our team has been, I mean, Chris, it's amazing. They're just, I see them working nonstop right now. So they're going to need a break and a nice vacation soon, but we want to make sure, and they care so much, right? They really, really care. They want to see like, our clients do good things. So we're willing to help one-off kind of things now that we've never really done before. So if you need help, setting up Calendly and Zoom and getting your email list straightened up and getting a Facebook ad running to a landing page, if you already have a WordPress site, because pretty much if it's not a WordPress site, it's gonna be a lot more effort. But if you already have a WordPress site, which our team can work on any day of the week, we're willing to kind of do some one-off, side projects that aren't, some big long contract like we typically work with our clients. But so just reach out to us. Joe, you can probably throw it in the chat at gnGF.com/speak. If you want to talk to us, we're happy to help. And hopefully maybe this sparks some ideas. So if you already have an agency or you have somebody in your office or how to do some of this stuff, here's some things you should be doing, right? And we can go back to some of that, top of mind awareness, but I would, this will be on replay available probably about, 15 minutes. So come back and watch it. Or I'll be talking more about this stuff along with some other marketers. So, like I'll come off of that. We'll get some new ideas for our clients and stuff in about less than an hour on a panel discussion on the profitwithlaw.com/COVID on those discussions they're having. So, feel free to jump on those too. But if you need some help, Chris and his team are ready to kind of do some one-off things that isn't normally kind of our process. But if it's something that we know we can do in 2 or 3 days, and then kind of monitor and track over the next few weeks to help you out and keep you in business, keep a couple more cases coming in. The side benefit, you'll be significantly stronger out of this. The top of mind awareness will be much bigger. You will have, touched, email lists that you maybe haven't touched in a while. You will have some, new people who know about your firm in the community because of the Facebook ads. These Facebook ads are targeted, like they're targeted within your community. It's not like we're just blasting the US. So, you know, like you get some targeted Facebook ads, you can do some remarketing later on. So taking advantage of some of this effort now will actually still strengthen your overall marketing position. But what we're concerned about right now is making sure you're surviving and thriving over the next few weeks. And if it's technology questions, Zoom, Calendly, Slack, you know, like whatever communication for your team, we do that all the time. We use it internally, so our team knows how to help consult you on that stuff as well. Because a lot of people are going remote and don't know what to do. I know, I think Georgia, I just saw, started doing a lockdown. So like we'll start, you know, hearing from all our, you know, Atlanta and area attorneys here soon, I'm sure. So, you know, we're trying to get ahead of this as much as we can. But please reach out, gngf.com/speak. And Joe, if you can throw it in the, if you haven't already, put in Facebook chat. That's it. We're going to sign off now, and because I got to get ready for another panel discussion. But man, Chris, this has been great. I loved going through this data with you yesterday and seeing, you know, like, and I know you've got more examples, but we had to limit it to a few here. But seeing the stuff you're doing like on the ground, you know, like right now, for the last like 7 days, that's making an impact on these law firm business owners. I mean, to hear Cheryl almost like, you know, it's like she was in tears, kind of saying, I was worried about laying people off, and our team now has hope because of some of these things. Like that's the kind of stuff that like really, you know, warms my heart and I know gets the team going. So thank you for that. And thank the whole team. But I'll let you go now and get back to it. Thanks everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See ya.
Hey, what's up? I'm Josh. Thanks so much for joining us. If you feel like you learned something today, think of how beneficial it would be to chat with myself or another one of our marketing consultants one-on-one. Go ahead and visit our website to schedule your free consultation. It only takes a minute.